Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Unnamed Cybersecurity Podcast. Uh, we've now, and then there were two.
Bob and Matt are dead. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess they're unalive now. That's not true.
Well,
They're
I
just
thought they ran off together. I wasn't going to say anything about that.
the strike team, right?
The strike team. They're out on a special mission. They're doing special ops. We really can't even disclose that.
Yeah.
We did get one finger back from Matt as proof of life, but that was about it.
Dude, he had a rough go being sick. So
he's really been. He hasn't. He's been having. He's been under the weather.
Yeah.
And so today what we wanted to talk about was today we wanted to talk about a few things, but the first one I wanted to open up with was financial crimes. What a delightfully fun topic. But between Bitcoin and financial crime, you're looking at about $4 billion. The FBI, excuse my run-on sentence. The FBI, the IC3. Let me take a step back.
The IC3 report for 2023 just came out. That's what he's talking about. So, and that's the Internet Crimes Report. The FBI goes over a lot of information about all the complaints they got, how much money was lost. Last year was a record year, but investment fraud is one of the top ones. Take it away.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Got so excited. So we had $4 billion over $4 billion in investment, and we had another $4 billion in crypto. And so you're starting to actually see banks, lending institutions coming out and doing fraud awareness seminars because it's become so prevalent. And I've attended two of them in the last 2 weeks. And one of them, what they're coming out with, regardless, and you'll start to hear these terms, is a term called pig butchering. And it specifically
sounds tasty. Sounds really tasty.
Yeah, you never want to know how they make the sausage. But what
my wife grew up in a slaughterhouse. I know how they make the sausage.
Well, that's true. I know. I got to get a cow from her. So anyway, that's a side story, folks. But let me explain what pig butchering is in a very simple. What they'll do is somebody will contact somebody. Normally, the typical MO is through social media. Mm-hmm. A lot of the ones that have been well documented have been, a guy gets on Messenger or something, a pretty face shows up, says, "Oh, I'd love to talk to you," and they start to engage in a conversation. And over a period of time,
this doesn't sound so bad.
Doesn't sound bad, and this is again like the pig trusts the farmer, and up until the last day, it's pretty good relationship, and that's kind of why they're saying, then they take them to slaughter. So they never see what's coming, and they don't understand, why that would happen. So this has been unfortunately on the rise. It's been hitting a number of different ways that'll be done. It can also be somebody joining into what we call a group chat. Nobody really knows or verifies who that person is there, but because they're with other people that you do know, you make the assumption that that person is also part of that same group. When I get a Facebook request, I don't know about you, but the first thing I look at is who are their mutual friends before I okay this. If I don't know them.
I just respond with NSFW stuff. And then it just kind of ends it. And if you don't know what that is, just go look up NSFW. If you knew what it is, then laugh at it. So let's break this down. So let's back up a little bit. So you meet somebody on like a dating app or social media. That's how it starts, right? Okay. So
they get a text out of the blue. Yes.
Okay. So then their whole thing with this pig butchering is they're trying to gain your trust. That sounds about right, right? Okay. And then I'm assuming after they gain your trust, then they're saying, "Hey, look, I have this great investment opportunity that you should go into."
Yeah, they're going to do a long play to gain your trust, and at the end they're going to talk about something along those lines of investment, some tax plan or something.
Yeah. So, you love me, you'll invest in my investment opportunity, and then you probably send them the money, and then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. Pretty much. Sounds right. Okay. So that also sounds like financial advisors. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Maybe. Could be, I suppose. But yeah, so going back to IC3 real quick, the report, $4.5 billion, that'd be crazy. $4.5 billion for investment fraud and almost $4 billion in crypto. I mean, that's almost $8.5 billion last year in losses. And that's, which if you look at that over 2022, it looks like regular investment fraud was up over $1 billion, and crypto was up almost 1.5 billion in
about
that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild.
If it was a stock, you'd be happy with it. Talking to our financial advisors.
Hey, man, Nvidia's having quite the run right now, so some of us are up. Like,
yeah, I know.
AI, go AI. Keep giving money to AI, guys, so we can start a pig butchering scheme. I'm just kidding. So this is wild. So I haven't heard any banks talk about this, but I've done a couple of talks last year where we had banks come in and they liked what we were talking about, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. They didn't specifically talk about pig butchering, but I mean, you see these numbers, dude. I mean, how many of these are and how many of these are actually like on dating apps? How many of these are actually women, or are they just like
most of them aren't?
Okay, yeah. So
I mean, we know, especially with the AI being able to generate an image of somebody. How many fake individuals can you are out on social media? Period.
Fair. Oh, well, let's talk about the age ranges too, because this is something interesting. When we think financial fraud, we typically think it's older people that get frauded, right? Does that seem fair? Right.
Absolutely.
But when you look at the numbers from last year, the age ranges are kind of interesting. Can you guess what the number one age range was for financial fraud?
60 and beyond.
You'd think that. But it was actually 40 to 49, and 30 to 39 was like right on their tails. Wow. So between 30 and 50 was actually higher than over 60. And between 50 and 59 was less than all of them. So when we look at this,
for a few more years, can I still be this smart?
Apparently I fall right in the middle of like the worst one. Like, dude, like,
don't worry, you're going to age out of it.
Yeah. Luckily, people under 20 barely got hit with financial fraud. I wonder why. Have no money. Yeah. Or under 30, barely. But yeah, so we see the spike at 30, which makes sense because people's earning potential gets a little bit more. If they're not in a relationship at 30, or maybe they're divorced by that point or whatever, as they go forward, they're getting more and more involved in these dating apps. So it does not tail off. It like accelerates through 49, drops a little bit through 50 to 59, and then accelerates back over 60. So it's very interesting numbers, something that you don't normally see.
You usually just see it going up. The older you are, the more likely you are to be scammed.
Well, what do you hear on the news, right? What do you hear? Most people hear about phone crimes and things like that from older people, right? People with retirement, people with like cash and things like that. They get taken advantage of. You don't hear about it from 30 to 40-year-olds, 30 to 50-year-olds. But
so again, when we're talking about the news, what also grabs at the heartstring? You got a widow who lost all of their means because they responded. That's going to be more of a news story than a 30-something-year-old who lost $4,000.
Okay, that's fair.
Wow, that's fair.
I mean, it's true, right? Like, who do you? Because somebody that's 30 has opportunity to earn the money back, where somebody that's at 60,
it's not going to be such a hardship.
Yeah, it could be devastating to their life.
It could be the difference between them living in their home and on the street, or whatever.
Yeah, that's okay. My NFTs get take off, so it's going to the moon. If you want to invest, let me know. I'm just. All right.
I do not endorse or approve this transaction.
I only take Monero, so sorry. All right, moving on. Let's move on a little bit. So this report's fascinating. We're not going to cover the whole thing today, but like we want to talk about ransomware a little bit, because there's another story that goes along with the ransomware part that this really irks me for a little bit. But we go into the ransomware part, and they had 2,825 complaints for ransomware last year. Now that's significantly less than the amount of ransomware that actually happened. These are just the reports that got to the FBI. and they only talked about adjusted losses of $59.6 million. So what's happening is people aren't reporting ransomware.
Of course,
they're either paying it, or they're recovering from backup, or they're going out of business. They're just not
rebuilding from scratch, or they're going out.
And part of it too is, depending on where you are, the FBI won't really help you unless it's over a certain dollar amount. And the bigger the metropolitan area, the higher the dollar amount. So like the people that are getting hit typically might not report it. But the important thing is to talk about the number one sector that got hit with ransomware, at least that reported it. And do you know which one that one is? So what do you think sectors? Yep. Yeah. So healthcare is number one. Critical manufacturing was close behind it with number two. And then it falls off a little bit to government facilities and then information technologies. Financial services actually under IT companies, which, to be fair, we're good targets because we have access to other customers.
That's
right?
True.
So government facilities too, they have access to a lot of things. So let's talk about healthcare, because this is fun. Let's talk about change. Yeah, let's talk about Change Healthcare, because this is the one that really you get into. And February 21st, they get hit with LV or Black Cat ransomware. And it's been, I mean, I don't know if you read the news about how catastrophic this has been, but this has been really bad for, hospitals can't bill. There's been prescription drug problems. United Healthcare announced 14 hours ago that they're trying to get it back up by mid-March. So United Healthcare owns Change Healthcare. That's another story that irks me, but they're saying mid-March. That means this is going to be down for probably a month, realistically. So this is becoming a financial problem for a lot of hospitals.
Optimistic side, yeah.
Yeah. So this is becoming a big problem, right, for hospitals and things like that. So as you start looking at this, this is real life. This is affecting patient care. This is affecting everything. Well, this actually gets worse. When you're really getting hit, it gets worse. So if you look at the report from last year, as far as critical infrastructure being hit with ransomware, Lockbit was number one. We've talked about Lockbit. They just lost some of their infrastructure, but then they stood it back up because the FBI and NCA took it, right? Well, LV and Black Cat were number two, which same group, but they had some of their infrastructure taken back in December by the FBI and NCA and some other groups. Well, here's the thing. LV is who hit Change Healthcare, and this is where it gets wild. This is where it gets really wild.
Tell us more.
Allegedly on March 1st, Change Healthcare paid $22 million in ransom because of how critical the data was. There's over 4 terabytes of data.
They weren't messing around. They just went ahead and paid the ransom. Yeah. They said, this is important enough. We got to pay it.
Dude, there's between 4 and 6 terabytes of data that was stolen. Apparently, literally everything. So this affects like CVS. This affects like other places that are doing business with Change Healthcare. The thing is from what I read, is Change Healthcare does 1/3 of all medical billing in the United States. They actually touch 1/3, and I think pharmacy is like 50%, which is wild to me. But and those numbers might be a little off. That's what I saw, so don't quote me on that. But it's a significant amount of healthcare. Well, LV apparently got this $22 million, banned the affiliate in the affiliate program, didn't pay them. And it looks like now they're doing an exit scheme where they're shutting down and rebranding. So they took all the money, they transferred the money.
When you say ban the affiliate, can you just go a little deeper as far as what does that mean?
So these are ransomware. This is a ransomware as a service operator. So they make the ransomware, they collect the payments, and then they pay their affiliates. They have affiliates out there that actually do the hacking part of it and deploy the ransomware. And then they help either negotiate or pay or help them actually gain more access.
It's like the back end office for the ransomware gang.
Yeah.
And so what they've just done is so you may have gone to a car dealership and paid for a car.
Let's talk about investment fraud.
Yeah, but that's like, so you paid for the car, and then Ford says, "Oh, we're removing the dealer, and you're not getting your car, and we're keeping the money."
Yeah, or it could be like one of those financial advisor people that takes your money and then just runs away with it.
Yeah.
Like you give them the money, you expect them to get a return, and they just take it and run away with it. Not like that. Not that happens to athletes or anything like that all the time. But,
no. And you'd be surprised that this would happen to cyber criminals.
Yeah. I mean, no honor among thieves, right? So
exactly.
They got the money. Their Bitcoin wallets suddenly were getting drained. they put up on, they closed down their leak site, then they closed down their affiliate site, and they said GG's on their talks chat. So good, like good game, like gaming. So good game, like they were out.
Yeah.
And then they, on their leak site, they put up a seized by FBI and NCAA, but that looks like that was just faked and brought over from when they got
like
some of their infrastructure seized. Yeah.
So it's like they were faking their own death and splitting town.
Yeah. So they're splitting town. They drain their Bitcoin wallets. Well, here's the worst part about this, and this is how we tie this back to Change Healthcare. The affiliate claims they still have all the data. They didn't get any money.
But the affiliate can't restore the data because Alpha V isn't giving them anything to.
They might not have the decryption key, so they still have the data. So what's stopping this affiliate from going back to Change Healthcare and saying, you know what, you paid $22 million, but you know what, they left us. Screw you. We want more money. There's nothing stopping them at this point.
It's true. And then the question I have is, could they even access that data if they don't have the key?
They exfiltrated it, so they should have the data without any kind of encryption to it.
Okay, so all the fun stuff that goes on here. So
yeah. So
there's like, okay, we'll resell and repackage this. Even though you didn't get door number 1, you can put more money into door number 2.
Yeah,
which does sound sometimes like a financial advisor.
Yeah,
you lost money on that investment. Here's a new one for you. I'm sorry.
We lost 30% last year, but don't worry, I'm going to get you back 60 this year.
So just in case my wife listens to this. So,
boy, our financial advisors are going to kill us. Like after viewing this,
yeah.
They're running big pig butchering schemes on us. That's fair. Or we're getting canceled, one of the two. So, but the point being, out of all this is, from the pig butchering side, it's interesting because if we recap this, 30 to 60 plus, they're getting hit the same rate, right? So yeah. I would think that crypto probably is hitting the younger generation a little bit more than the regular investment schemes. As you get older, it might be less about crypto because they don't understand it, and it might get more into the traditional investment opportunities, which could be, made off little stuff like,
Crypto is still a small market when you compare it to the stock market.
Yeah, the market caps aren't there. Yeah.
No, but it's still, but the younger people are more likely to invest into things like crypto.
Yeah. So, and then you move on to, okay, so we know that the financial crime is such a big deal. We know it dwarfs ransomware as far as like the number of dollars reported, but we also understand that when you read these reports, like, and you see some of the ransoms that have been paid, and they say that's only $56 million lost. That means things aren't being reported to the FBI, Absolutely. which is a bigger problem when you have major incidents like this. But if we tie this a little bit more into being a public company, United Healthcare is a public company. There's going to be more information that has to go in their SEC report because of all the SEC changes that happened.
Don't they also have to file within a certain amount of time now under the new rules?
Yep, they had to file it. I haven't paid attention to the 8K, but
the 8K, yeah,
this gets worse.
I lost the name of the report in my head for a second. But
yeah,
the 8K.
Yeah. So this gets worse though because the Department of Justice tried to block United Healthcare from buying Change Healthcare back in, I think, was it 2022? Maybe it was before that, because they said they were going to get too big, and they lost. So United Healthcare was able to buy them. And so if you start digging down the road of this, and this is the problem that we see in supply chain attacks, and I want to tie this all back to supply chain because I made a video a couple of days ago talking about this. The more consolidation we have in our industries or in our sectors, when we have an attack like this, the worse it is.
You're looking at the numbers, even if you're off by a percentage of 30%, let's say it's only 20%. That means it's only one out of 5 is getting affected directly.
It's incredible. And
yeah,
it's kind of terrifying as you get to this point, because who knows? What if it's not somebody like Change Healthcare? What if it's far reaching? I mean, and the amount of stuff that they got out of this with like social security numbers and all this information, all this health information on people, like that is so valuable to them for like going back and ransoming even individuals. If they really parse through this data, they might be able to go back and say, hey, look, you have a disease. Nobody knows about it. And maybe because maybe somebody's famous and we want to not let this information leak. We're going to, we'll take a ransom of X, right? Like this can get really bad. And
it has too. I mean,
yeah.
it has It's just that a lot of it isn't being reported because most blackmailing isn't.
Yeah. So, on a good note.
Yeah, let's end on a good note.
Actually, I don't have anything good. Hold on. Let me think. If Elfie is gone, that's good long term. But they've been rebranded before. I'm sure they'll rebrand again. So I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here.
You're going to get a couple of sacrificial lambs that are thrown out there, but you're not going to get I think one of the good notes is that the people are tuning in and everything else is they are becoming aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
and these guys are more powerful when nobody knows anything. And the fact that even banks are starting to approach and saying, "Oh, we have to educate our customers," is a good thing because they're taking incredible losses too. So it'll be good when I'll know we're turning a corner when all of a sudden healthcare companies say, "We need to train you to make sure you're not a victim of healthcare benefits fraud." Have you ever seen a conference or an educational thing for all the seniors to be, to say, how do you protect your Social Security benefits? I've never seen anything put on by any of these companies. Not to say I'm going to be wrong, but that would be interesting. That would be.
And is that a target because there's not really that much money at the end of the day? And that's harder to scam.
Well, there's still, I'm just saying, the more people that know, the tighter things start to happen.
I think the thing that I was digging through the report a little bit further down, and just to kind of end on an interesting note, even though that people between 30 and 50 are getting scammed more often, they make more complaints overall, or the amount of money lost past 60 dwarfs the other two. It's actually more than double the 30 to 50 age range.
Well, it's also where
60 plus
are happening.
Right, because they've been able to build their wealth over the course of 30, 40 years, and like
you're more conservative once you hit that.
Yeah, and their social security benefits are one part of that, but like, I mean, dude, it's 3.4, like basically $3.4 billion in losses for the complaints over the age of 60. The age of 50 between 50 and 59 was only 1.7 billion. That's half. Between 30 and 50, it was only 2.7 billion total.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild, how devastating it is, to like the older generation, stuff like that. So it's something that we got to do. I will say this about Good Notes: we're seeing more of these groups be hit by international organizations, like the collaboration between like the NCA, which is the National Crime Agency in the UK, and between Europol and some of these other ones in the United States, the FBI. It's actually pretty incredible that they're able to take down some of this infrastructure. They're not necessarily getting the people because the people might be hiding out in Russia or some non-extradition country, but it's good in one sense, but it's also like they're playing catch up, and they'll probably never catch up. So as they hurt one group, another group's just going to pick up and keep running with it.
Unfortunately, it's like crime is never going to stop. It's been around since the human race has been around.
So it's on us to make sure that we prepare our companies and our families for these types of attacks, and kind of put some mitigation techniques inside, inside to minimize the risk, because somebody's getting hit. We see it every day.
And the other part of, like, if you have seniors in your life, have a conversation, and don't make them feel bad that they can fall, because every age can fall for this. And I think that's sometimes why they, the people who go out on their own are because, they won't listen to me because I'm, one of the things that happens as you get older is people think that you become invisible the more gray hair you have. And so it's the saying, you'll find out.
Pride too, though, right? It's embarrassing. Pride. It's embarrassing to get had. Like, it really is. It's embarrassing.
It is. But then there's also the point of, like, somebody saying, well, what do you expect? But anyway, have that conversation. Try to, especially if they all of a sudden start to go down to the bank to do a wire fraud. Before you want to have that before, grandma goes down to the bank to do that, or grandpa, because that happens on a way too frequent basis. unfortunately.
Well, honestly, we look at this from, let's talk from a high level, right? Awareness is so important. So having these conversations is so important with everybody of every age range. It doesn't matter where the age range is. We need to have these conversations. We need to make them aware of these things so that they get a little skeptical when somebody comes to their door or calls them on the phone or sends them an email or something like that. Like, they have to be skeptical, but they have to know it exists.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that we do this is to help people understand it exists. Even if it's only a small audience that watches it, it's still a way that we can put this out there, that we help people know things exist.
Who we're reaching.
Yeah. And if a handful of people share this and somebody doesn't get scammed out of it, that's mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I think on that note, let's end on that good note.
There.
Yeah, so we're not rambling
one
on.
less scam coming out because of us.
Yeah, hopefully, right? So hopefully we'll have the full crew back next week. Maybe we can find Matt. Yeah, I might just have to go. I might have to take a 5-hour trip to go find Matt.
Yeah, we're exactly.
So,
well, I'm like 80% sure Bob will be back next week.
Yeah,
maybe
and
93.
We'll dive a little bit more probably into the IC3
there's a lot report.
There. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I think is important to understand, and we kind of get an idea of like what types of crime is the most prevalent, because it may not be what you think it is. So stay tuned for that. Have a safe week,
guys.
And we'll talk to you next week.
See you guys later.